Summer's in full swing. The San Diego Padres are in playoff position, and they're barreling toward the trade deadline. And so are we at Padres Hot Tub with a special new deal, a deadline deal for new patrons. You can go to patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub. That's patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub. And type in the code DEAL10. You can get 10% off on a monthly membership at any level, $5, $12, or $30 a month. And if you do an annual membership, which already saves you money, you'll get an extra 10% off. That's 20% off annual memberships, 10% off monthly memberships between now and the trade deadline, guys, at patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub.
Double deadline deal days.
It's a Scrabble. It's like a Scrabble word. Scrabble, double, deal, deadline, score, word, score. Yeah, come check it out. If you've been on the fence about, I want to join the Patreon, but I'm not sure. What am I going to get out of it? Whatever. Dip your toe in with a monthly membership. If you know it's something you've been wanting to do and you want to take advantage of these deals, hey, you're a buyer, we're a seller at the deadline. Come and join us. It's a really fun time to be a part of it, especially now. Like, if you can't keep track of what's going on around the league and you want to know what trades are happening, everything is just pumping through our Discord right now. It's a great time to join our community, patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub. Code DEAL10, that's DEAL10 at checkout.
That's Chris Reed, Rafi Cantor. We're all together, full boat, ready to sail. Sunday, July 20th, heading toward the trade deadline. 3 games out of a 10-game road trip. 3 games out of a 10-game road trip to start the second half are checked off, and 2 of them are nice wins. 7-2, lost 4-2, won 8-1. Hey, just look at the numbers, boys. Baseball's stupid. Don't watch it. Look at the numbers. It was a beautiful weekend for Padres baseball. Gentlemen, we got plenty to chat about. What are your opening thoughts as the Padres have embarked on this second half voyage?
Christopher?
My opening thoughts are that Dylan Cease came back very strong off of the All-Star break and gave us a glimpse of hope into having our guy back, having the guy the Padres traded for last season. And Nick Pivetta is the staff ace and came out and did a great job today, over Mackenzie Gore. The Padres seem to have wired that matchup so that they would have a chance against the Washington All-Star. And Xander Bogaerts is turning on all the engines, playing like we only saw for the first few weeks of his contract as a Padre. And oh my goodness, do we have 4 superstars on this team? Because one of them at least isn't really playing with it. Jackson Merrill took today off. But if we have a lineup that's 4 deep of hitters, that does a lot difference. And speaking of hitting, that second game was really tough to watch because we saw kind of the true 2025 Padres offense, and that needs to get better. But that's why we have a deadline. That's why we're going to talk about who can come and go. But happy they took care of business in the nation's capital.
That's exactly right, Chris. They took care of business. They did what they needed to do on this series. Right out of the chute, you win the first game. Okay, you lose Saturday, you win the series. And going up against a team like the Nationals, who have some interesting, scarier guys up front, but not a lot of length in that lineup. Definitely not a lot to scare you on the pitching side, especially in the bullpen, which is the worst in all of Major League Baseball. To go in there and to win the series is absolutely mission critical, especially as we look around the league. Giants got swept. Dodgers got swept. Milwaukee swept the Dodgers, so, there's that. But you basically, I think of it like a tennis match. And this is a series where you needed to hold serve, and you held serve while everyone else was, getting broken around you. So much to discuss from the series, much to discuss about the team, but it feels like maybe second half Schilt OP coming into effect.
I'd like to believe that is the case. I'd certainly love to believe that is the case. The Padres are facing a losing team. They've been facing really good teams, playoff contenders, even if there were teams like the Reds or the Rangers that were around 500, a game under or whatnot. These are tough, competitive teams that were throwing some pretty good starters at San Diego. Washington is not that. They're a bad franchise, listless, drifting. I heard Jesse Agler this morning on Sammy's pregame show saying how the people in Washington are edgy because the GM is gone, the manager is gone, there's interims in place, there's change in the future. There's a chance that Gore is traded in the next week or two. And the clear message of that is that the Soto rebuild is a fail. It's just a complete fail. It's cost everyone their jobs. They never had a winning chance. It's going to be like the fifth straight season of wins in the 70s at best for the Nationals, and they might be pushing to get to that 71 win total by year's end. So these are the series you really do have to win. By comparison, I'm sure we'll talk about it more. The Marlins are playing really, really well, like really well right now. Top 5 in the league right now and for the last month or so. So I look at the next series as a huge challenge for San Diego, but this one was one they had to take. And to get 2 out of 3, where 2 out of 3 games, you kind of saw that clunky Padres mid-2025 offense of 2 runs, quality start for a bad starter, Soroka and Parker, pitching quality start baseball. To get 2 out of 3, mission accomplished?
You know what I think Mike Schilt did? I think that he went up to the gate attendant leaving for San Diego, and they said, "Mr. Schilt, you're all ready to go to Washington, D.C.?" And he said, "No, cuz I'm going to Slam Diego. I need to punch my ticket from San Diego to Slam Diego." And that's where the charter went. And Padres, big old goose egg of grand slams coming into the game, get 2 in one series, raining and pouring. As a wise man once said on a not so wise podcast, home runs are good. Home runs are great. And those certainly helped us if just like a token, as like, a little bit of I'm not going to say any curses getting lifted or just, sage getting burnt away. As vibes, grand slams are instant vibes boosts, and love to see that too. Welcome back to Slam Diego, everybody.
And just a note on that Nationals rebuild thing. I think I know certainly Padres fans and fans of other franchises, they like to say, oh, you overpay for this player, but if you win a ring, it doesn't matter. Like, who cares? It's worth it. If you win a ring, X is fine because it was a ring and it was worth it. And the Nationals are kind of like that statement come to bear because, they win a ring in 2019 and they really haven't had a winning season since, outside of COVID, I think. And everyone is getting fired, like you're saying, Craig. The rebuild has failed and the team is really languishing and like the franchise looks lost in some way. And so that question of like, is it worth it to win a ring to then be wandering in the desert as a franchise after they signed Steven Strasburg to a unintentionally disastrous contract, et cetera, et cetera. The question of like, how much goodwill does a ring buy you? Well, for Mike Rizzo and Davey Martinez, 5 years. 5 years is what it buys you. And then that's it. So I don't know. I always like to think of that question in the context of, obviously the Padres have quite a few big contracts on their books. And yes, obviously they haven't won a ring, but the Padres have managed to remain relevant pretty much the entire time they have had these contracts on the books. And the Nationals, like I said, are wandering in the desert. So I just think it's something. It's an interesting when you look at the divergence of two franchises, and obviously 2019 is the season that we signed Manny Machado, and I'll be interesting to check back in 5 more years and see where the Padres are at and where the Nationals are at.
Rafi, Nationals payroll this year, $114 million. Last year, $106 million. Year before, $93 million. Year before that, $126 million. But that, who did they have that year? They had Patrick Corbin on the books at $23 million.
Yeah, they did.
So, like, they've had a couple of disasters. Nelson Cruz made $12 million for them that year. So maybe they're not spending their money quite that bit, but, Davey Johnson says it's never the coach's fault. It's a little bit the coach's fault. It's a little bit the GM's fault, but their ownership is not investing in that team. Like, at any point, they could have went out and spent some money in those years and gotten their payroll a little higher. I was listening to, I want to say it was the Cespedes Family Barbecue podcast, and they made a really good point. The Nationals won the World Series in 2019, and when you win the World Series, like, your financial windfall comes the next year. You sell lots of shirts, you sell the World Series hats, your stadium's more full, and the year following the Nationals World Series win was 2020, and they got no revenue from anybody coming in. So a little bit of bad luck on their part. It's going to be a thorn in Padres fans' side watching James Wood play. I mean, he is an electric young player, but we got to see why the Padres shipped away C.J. Abrams this year, this series. He made a lot of very questionable plays on the base pass. Not the defender you want at shortstop. Xander Bogaerts is playing like a friggin' all-star defensively at shortstop, and then coming through with the bat. So we're gonna always worry about James Wood. Like, we're gonna second guess that, and that's natural. That's just
he went
part
over
of being
20.
a fan. And
this was another over 20 with like 12 or 13 strikeouts. Yeah,
13. Yeah.
Hey, Padres, had scouting report on him, so good for them. But I trust AJ Preller to do what it takes to win. I think the man is a competitor. I think Padres ownership is run by people who want to compete, who want to win the championship, and I'm glad that our owners are not the Nationals owners. I'm glad the Lerner family isn't in charge.
In between our previous free show and this one, of course, the All-Star break took place, which means the All-Star game took place, which means 5 Padres went to Atlanta. All the relievers appeared in the game. All the position players appeared in the game. I was really happy to see this national series come and go and really only have Friday be a game where any of the horsemen had to ride. I really want to see these guys get a rest one way and another. I want to see them get a rest. So the best way to do it is to win games 8-1 and 7-2, and then lose in between and not have to use those guys, because we know Schilt doesn't usually use them in games where the Padres are trailing. I still think it's really important, just like I still think wherever we get the outfielder or the catcher, you got to get a reliever in one of those deals. You got to get one reinforcement reliever in one of those deals.
Yeah, I'm with you, man.
I'm curious because we haven't really talked about bullpen reinforcement. Do you feel that a righty or a lefty would be more impactful?
Well, that's a great question. And I was thinking about that specifically in terms of Texas, Rafi, on the last post-game show that we did for patrons back on Friday night when Chris and I got together, because we were talking about kind of the basic framework of a Luis Camposano for Kyle Higashioka and Cash trade. Yeah. That could just say, here, have a young catcher. You can try and work with him and Jonah Heim and see if you get a great, lefty-righty combo there. Give us a little cash to cover Kyle's next contract next year. But do you want from Texas a Chris Martin, 39 years old, but he's been around the block, right-hander, 6'9", I think, really keeps the ball down? Or would you rather have a Hobie Milner, a lefty attack type pitcher out of the bullpen. I feel like the answer to that is, how much do you like Yuki Matsui? Because if you're not going to use Yuki in those type of leverage attack spots, then you want a left-handed attack reliever. If you still think with Yuki and Morejon, you've got what you want. Wandy's your ground ball guy. That's 3 lefties in the pen. You don't need 4, probably. So at that point, I'd say go get another righty so that Adam can, take a break.
I don't want to spoil the conversation, but it also depends on what the Padres do at the deadline with their relievers. They don't have a lot of prospect capital as in years past, yada, yada, yada. A strength of the team is the bullpen. They've got one of the horsemen under control, pre-Arb and Jeremiah Estrada. Does he become a target and you backfill with Sean Reynolds or David Morgan? Or is Sean Reynolds and David Morgan on the block because they're electric young arms that teams might covet that full 5-6 years of? So my answer to that kind of depends on where that goes, because if you lose one of those right-handers, doesn't hurt to bring in another right-hander that maybe has only got a year or 2 left of arbitration or is just on a 1-year deal. But Yuki has been really rough. He's been giving up home runs left and right. Wandy Peralta has been a little bit better by chance, but I'm never going to trust him, Craig.
Yeah, I did a thing on Friday's show, Rafi, which was called Wandy Peralta has been okay.
Yeah, I heard it. I listened, and
He's been
like,
okay.
And then he came into the game like the next day, and I was like, oh, here we go. This is a call to the bullpen by Craig Elston.
Yeah.
But it was fine for the most part.
Yeah, he's fine. Wandy's been okay. Let's treat Wandy all right. Over 42 innings of 3.3 FIP relief this year. Everyone would have signed up for it back in February. Everybody
Wandy's
would.
Great. He gets your kegels in when he comes in the game. He helps keep you tight.
I think my feeling right now, counterintuitive as it may be, because I know 3 of our 4 horsemen are righties, but my trust meter on Adam and Suarez is low. My confidence o-meter, my concern o-meter, I guess those are inverse things, but they're in the suspect ranges. And so I feel like if there were to be any side that we would really need help, like trust meter is at a 10 for Morejon. And really in a game, how often do you need to deploy a high leverage lefty? Usually once. Yeah. So, I mean, look, who knows what could happen between now and the end of the season? Obviously, fatigue is a real thing. Attrition is a real thing. You can't count on anyone these days. But, yeah, I don't know. Just seeing Adam and Suarez being out there trotted out in the 8th and 9th inning every time, starting to worry about that, especially come September and October.
And I would just say to do you only need a high leverage lefty one time? I would just say Shohei Ohtani and Rafael Devers. That's what I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys are real problems that you might need multiple left-handed relievers to handle over the course of a game. So I'm a little ambidextrous on this one, or I mean ambivalent dextrous on this one. Give me a good lefty, give me a good righty. I just think they need some more depth in that bullpen to get from here to the finish line and get across it okay. Now, Friday, something really, really important happened, which is Dylan Cease didn't completely suck. In fact, he was good.
He was good.
No walks, 10 strikeouts. The first time he had done that as a Padre. The last time he did anything like that was with the White Sox. And I thought it was really interesting, guys, and I saw it was in the notes too, so it's a great thing we can explore. In Kevin Acee's Padres Daily the next day, Dylan was quoted talking about how he mixed in a 2-seamer, a sweeper, the circle changeup that he throws, or curveball, the knuckle curveball that he throws.
Knuckle curve. Yeah.
And that he felt like he had not been able to use any of his other pitches because he had struggled so badly with his command of his top two pitches that he felt like those were the only two that he could use. So it's kind of an interesting thing in terms of like when Dylan struggles, he also eliminates all of his other opportunities to fool a hitter and becomes as binary fastball or slider, slider or fastball as possible because he's worried about throwing anything else. But kind of to use counterintuitively again, when he does have the command of the fastball, now all of a sudden all these other pitches are back in play.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that we saw, especially like a late April, early May, when he was kind of really struggling, was that Dylan Cease was using his slider so much that it was his primary pitch. Where like there was a game on May 13th where Dylan used his slider 65% of the time. And then the rest of the time was basically fastball. And that's it. Like, he threw the stray knuckle curve, the stray changeup, et cetera, et cetera. And, this time out, we had him primarily on July 18th throwing his fastball 45% of the time, slider 37% of the time. But then you got the knuckle curve 11% of the time, which is like a real, like, I have to respect this pitch number. Like, once you get into double-digit percentage usage, then it's like, that is a third pitch. And the reason that he was able to do it, kind of like what you were saying, Craig, is he was getting ahead in counts. He'd been working from behind in the count for so much of the year. And I can't tell you, just watching him go up 0-2, 1-2 in basically every plate appearances, like you mentioned, he didn't walk. I think he had like 3 different plate appearances that got to 3-ball counts and didn't walk any of those guys. It's a different pitcher. Like that's your ace. When Dylan can play ahead in the count, like he is your ace. I know Nick Pivetta pitched an absolute gem, and we'll talk about that later on. And I know he is the true staff ace right now. But in terms of the ceilings of the guys we have seen, like what we dream on is Dylan Cease working from an 0-2 count and having an actual arsenal that he can play with.
Well, beautiful to see. Keep it going, Dylan. Don't let this just be another dilettante fling with success. You need to lock in and make some money next year, kid.
Yeah.
And it's the next 8 starts that are going to get that done. Get you paid or get you not paid.
I mean, discourse around town was whether or not the Padres should put the qualifying offer on him, and that's crazy. Of course they could. His innings alone justify that qualifying offer, plus he's rep by Scott Boras. It's a very, very easy decision. It's a free 4th-round draft pick, so of course they're going to do it. But it does stand as an indictment of how rough it's been for him and how much money a completely lost season would stand to cost him. So let's do it, bud. You need some hives.
Let's do it. Meanwhile, Friday's game also saw some really high-quality little ball played by the San Diego Padres. As number 9 hitter and general non-run producer Elias Diaz bunted home not 1 but 2 runners from third base on safety squeezes. The second of those was created at third base because of a perfectly executed hit and run with Jake Cronenworth running, Rafi, and Jose Iglesias singling behind him on a soft little ground ball to the vacated right side. It was really great to see that type of execution from a team that has sometimes spun their wheels thinking they are executing with little ball when actually they were just kind of stifling their offense. None of us, though, are mad at squeeze bunts that score runs.
Not at all. Yeah, go.
No.
I mean, Chris, this is your time to shine.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything because we're going to get into, what Acee
No,
wrote
get
in his
into it
daily-
right now.
Let's do
Yeah,
it.
here we
Okay,
go.
so yeah,
Bunts.
Kevin. All right, hey, I'm just trying to go by the order. I read the words
Do it,
off
nerd.
the page. Okay, yes, yes, sir. Kevin Acee in the Padres Daily pointed out Padres lead the major leagues with 27 sacrifice bunts, on pace for any team the past 5 years. It's been a little bit of a bugaboo for me when Arias has done it because he's the second hitter. He's supposed to be the best hitter in the team by the modern game. Tatis is on the base path. He's electric enough as it is. And Luis Arraez, for whatever you want to knock him on, he's still the most exceptional contact hitter in the National League, possibly the Major League. Stephen Kwan might give him a run for money elsewhere, but I don't think so. He's pretty damn good. So it's very frustrating when he bunts. Hate it when he bunts. But when Martin Maldonado, a dude who is all but a nothing with the bat, he's got he's got a WRC plus, like in the range of comfortable Celsius temperatures. Like, then it's good. It's awesome. And you could, if the Padres can manufacture runs in that regard, like, we're absolutely here for it. You would expect a team with Maldonado, Diaz, Bryce Johnson, Tyler Wade. You would hope that they're going to have some productive bunt efforts. And, I was very curious all season long about whether Arraez was putting on those bunts or Mike Shildt was. And in Acee's Daily, he kind of filled it in that it seems like that's something that Shildt is trusting his players with. So, like, I don't expect Luis Arraez to be the most filled in on the modern analytical benefits to bunting or not bunting, you know. I expect that guy to kind of play his own game no matter what he's doing. So, to clarify, we're all for the small ball when it's applicable, when it should happen. It just shouldn't be happening at the top of the order. And while those bunts were productive, what broke that game open, what made it possible for the Four Horsemen to stay in the stable, was Manny Machado leaning back on one.
Chris, they didn't stay in the stable. That grand slam came in the top of the ninth inning. And it was only a tie game. Right. It was only a tie game was because Jason Adam blew the game, and Wandy Peralta had to come in relief. So of Jason Adam. Right. So that was a slight addendum to what you were talking about earlier, Craig. But when you win the game 7-2, you don't have to pitch the Horseman, assuming you get the lead at the right time. But I mean, case in point of trust meter on Jason Adam being down towards the bottom of the floor is he literally blew the game on Friday night and had to be bailed out by Manny Machado's bat.
Fair. And if you keep having the small ball be the way you rely on things, those guys aren't going to get any rest. So thanks for pointing out the correction, Rafi.
And I'd also just like to note the great work here in the Padres universe, because Chris Reed wrote a letter to Kevin Acee. I think in the words of Chuck Schumer, a strongly worded letter. He was hoping to get results.
I'm being compared to Schumer.
And Kevin Acee, the People's Reporter, took that email, read that email, went to the next pregame scrum, and asked the question. I mean, you might as well have just put Chris and ported him into the conference because of the People's Reporter, Kevin Acee, doing the work of the people. Hey, if you ever want a question asked, write him an email. He may just ask Mike Shildt.
And I'm not taking credit, Kevin Acee. Our wins are your wins. You know, my losses are my losses alone. And so, thank you for clarifying that. That was good. That was interesting to read because it had been a question all season long, like who ordered the code red. And then Kevin Acee went up to Colonel Jessup Mike Shildt, and he was like, "It's my Marines, man. I don't know what these guys are going to do. They're championship ball players. You know, they got pillowcases and batteries.
You need them on that wall."
Bunting. I didn't know I needed them on the wall bunting, but I guess I do. So that's a bow on Friday. Saturday, of course, the Padres fail with runners in scoring position, fail with their big money hitters at the plate in key innings, in the middle innings.
And Darvish is into a double play.
Yeah, Trenton Brooks is still here. Martin Maldonado, by the way, randomly started against a left-hander and got an RBI double. If there's one thing that, and we talked about it, but I forget if it was on a post-game show or not, or a group therapy. So I want to make sure I bring it up on the main show. There's one thing that actually drives me up the wall about the Padres catcher usage this year. It is that they have decided with these two incredibly limited ball players to utilize them only as personal catchers and to make all of their who plays, who doesn't play decisions based on, oh, well, who's the starter? Oh, if it's Rafi, it's this. Except Friday, when finally Moldy Martin got put on the bench for Diaz. And what do you know? Dylan Cease pitched shutout baseball. Oh, maybe did he get access to the Maldonado algorithm? Did he get access to the sequencing that makes him perfect? Or is this all a bunch of fucking bullshit? The answer is, let me just spoil it for you. It's all a bunch of fucking bullshit. Okay. And the only thing right now that you can look at these two catchers and say, well, why would I play one or the other? The only differentiating thing is that Martin Maldonado actually hits lefties over a 730 OPS against lefties. And starting against a lefty on Saturday, he got an RBI double. If you only started him against left-handed pitching twice a week, he might hit 245, and everyone thought he was actually pretty good.
Whoa, you calm
He's hitting
down.
241 against lefties. He was hitting 241 coming in against lefties. What if he only hit lefties?
It's not just this year either. That's like a career thing. Like the dude hits lefties much better. You know, why we were upset he was coming here is because not just now, but in the past. So in the past, he does it. Let's try it on.
I'm just saying, if there was one thing we could have done, it would have been like, okay, well, Maldonado will start against left-handers and Diaz will start against right-handers. But instead we did an alphabet game. Like, oh, well, if the starter's last name is V, then it's going to be Maldonado. And if it's C, it's Maldonado. But if it's others, it's Diaz. And that's how we'll do it. It's actually asinine. Like, we've never tried to use these resources in any way.
Well, it's not just asinine, how short our memories are, because I remember very fondly being told that, well, we have to have our catchers have certain days on and off because the ERAs of pitchers when Austin Nola is catching is just far lower than when anyone else is catching.
Right.
So, I mean, like, what are you going to do with that? If you don't have Austin Nola in there calling the game, he's a real leader. And this was 2 years ago. This wasn't even that long ago. Anyway.
Listen, Randy Vasquez is a supercar. He is a Maserati. He is a McLaren. And he needs the right mechanic under the hood, right? But Dylan Cease should be your ace of the staff. You should be able to have Jake Cronenworth behind home plate or Tyler Wade back there, and Dylan Cease would still be dealing Cease. So, like, I'll grant them the one. You know, you give the McLaren your top mechanic, but you know, your F-250 with the beehives in the back, anybody can do that.
Regardless, that's just something that pissed me off. And I'm like, when I see Maldonado then hit one deep into the gap that goes up against the wall against a left-hander, I'm like, well, wait a second. Instead of us just saying he's universally terrible, what if we used him only the one thing that he does well and then didn't use him at any other time? But no, we're not doing that. So again, I just think it's faulty. It's user error, basically.
He also has he pinch hit for Diaz against the lefty this year once?
No.
Yeah, no,
never. Why would you? Right? I mean, but that's why you would, because it could actually maybe possibly work somewhere along the line. Darvish started on Saturday. Darvish made it through 5. He gave up 3. He hasn't been particularly good outside of the first inning in any of these starts. Usually the first innings look pretty good. The second inning has been base runners and runs allowed. And again, in Acee's Padres Daily, he alludes to the concept that you might just have a bad elbow that is going to end his career at some point, a la Joe Musgrove, pitching until the trainer comes out But unlike Joe, he wouldn't go get the surgery and then go to Iceland and go to a hyperbaric chamber and go, visit the wizard and everything else that Joe's doing. He would just hang it up and be like, that's it. My concernometer on Yu Darvish finishing his contract and getting to 2028 is probably like a 9.9 at this point. I just don't think he gets there.
No argument from me. I will say, you talking about Joe Musgrove going to Iceland and seeing the wizard and all that stuff. We don't talk about the fact that, like, in the middle of December, he just went to Antarctica to throw and set the Guinness World Record for fastest fastball.
That was
2 seasons ago. It was 2 seasons ago.
I know. Like, so he just went cold to the coldest place in the world to throw hard, and then his elbow blew up the next year?
No. Your timeline's a little choppy.
No, it's not,
a bunch of other
Am I
stuff
wrong?
in there. First of all,
those things
if
did
he
happen
was
in that sequence, but
I'm just asking questions. I'm just doing my own research, right?
that's wild. I don't know. Are you guys concerned at all that Yu Darvish is not going to be a reliable contributor this season?
No, like, he hasn't been awful. Like, he has not been getting shelled. Like, it hasn't been fantastic, but, like, we haven't seen him give up 6 runs. He's gotten out of his outings. He went 5 yesterday? Yeah, he went 5. I'm with you. I'm worried about him finishing out the contract. I have dreams of Yu Darvish being able to accumulate some more strikeouts, some more innings, some wins, and round out a potential Hall of Fame run. But if how Acee's tone was a little depressing, man. And if you'll recall, what put him out in 2023 was this bone spur, and the reporting at the time was like, yeah, he could have that surgically worked on, but that could be risky at his age. That can be actually dangerous to his overall health. Like, he had already had that worked on at one point, and going back in there wouldn't necessarily be something that he'd want to do to be healthy for the rest of his life, let alone as a pitcher. So, like, taking that into account and kind of taking the mysterious nature of the injury, I think Kevin even wrote something along that they hadn't even, nobody had addressed quite what it is. He had never quite felt right while working in rehab, and they haven't really gone into exactly what's going on with his elbow. So, like, it wouldn't be out of the question for a guy his age to have another Tommy John and try to return. But if it's something else, like if it's this bone spur that's causing inflammation every time he goes out, and it's doing weird things with other things, and that, I'm not a doctor. I don't know what's going on with that arm. But if it's something that he worries about his quality of life long term, then yeah, I don't think we're going to see him return to the peak that we have seen. And that's a damn shame, because he's one of my favorite ball players of all time.
My question for you guys: who will be a more effective pitcher for the Padres in 2025? Yu Darvish or Stephen Kolek?
Right. That's the real question that you're asking when you ask about Darvish is, would Kolek be better than what Darvish is offering?
I think the question is interesting if you talk about contribution over the holistic term, because Kolek's been huge for them so far. But Yu Darvish is still a master of his craft, man.
Okay,
and
Chris.
He's still really new at facing major league hitters.
Question for you. Stephen Kolek right now has a 4.24 ERA. Yu Darvish has a 6.08 ERA in only 13 innings. Who will finish with the lower ERA this season?
Yu Darvish. And I'm drinking on
All right. You're riding with your boy. I'm skeptical. I'm just skeptical. It doesn't, by the way, that doesn't mean that you coming back isn't important. Like, if Stephen Kolek's been pretty like okay for the Padres, and if they have another one of those guys this season, that's going to be critical to get the Padres to the playoffs. Like, I'm not trying to diminish the importance of his return. It is very important. But like, I think what Craig was gesturing towards was, is he going to be Darvish, the guy we once knew, ever again? And I'm skeptical, personally.
I am too. I think I said something kind of similar to that. Like, is he going to be the guy? It's just really early, guys. Like, he's 3 starts in, having not pitched all season long. 13 innings. The concerning things, he struck out 5 in his first appearance and then struck out 1 this last one. So guys are getting the bat on the ball. But his pitch count is good. As long as he's recovering and making his starts, yeah, I feel like that ERA is going to go down.
Padres need Michael King back.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Padres need Michael King back. This brings me to Sunday's game.
Can I say one thing really quickly about Saturday? Just really quick.
Yeah,
to the end of the game. Obviously, the Padres lose that game 4-2. But in the top of the 8th inning, they got Tatis and Arias at 2nd and 3rd with nobody out. And they had Machado, Sheets, and Bogaerts. And they didn't score. And I was not mad at all. Because, like, to me, like, I know that, like, that the Padres didn't hit with runners in scoring position. That's documented, etc. But, like, we got to the game state we needed to get to win the game. And it just, the roll of the dice, they rolled a 1 that time. Oops, shit. That didn't work out. But if you keep doing that, you're going to stack wins. And so Chris?
I was mad because they got there because Luis Arias bunted, and it took a throwaway into right field for that to happen. It took like a weird event of chaos for the moment, and I welcome chaos, but I hate bunts. I do love chaos more than I hate bunts, though.
You hate specifically Luis Arias bunts, and I'm pretty much in lockstep with you on that. However, that rally you discussed, Rafi, ended with Xander Bogaerts making an out with runners in scoring position. And today, Xander Bogaerts was batting cleanup as the DH for the San Diego Padres, and I saw that and panicked. And then in the top of the 1st inning, old friend Mackenzie Gore walks Fernando Tatis Jr., gives up a single to Luis Arias, walks Manny Machado, and up steps Xander Bogaerts with the bases loaded. And he hits a grand slam.
He swings first pitch.
Slam. First pitch. A grand slam.
And Xander Bogaerts knew how bad he's been with bases loaded. He talked about it in the postgame. He knew.
Well, if you don't know, you're about to. Because if you felt watching that ball sail over the fence that it seemed unusual, if you remembered that, in the 2013 World Series, Xander Bogaerts hit a grand slam off Joaquin Benoit to basically win the series for the Sox against the Detroit Tigers. And you were like, holy crap, I remember this guy was like good and stuff and hit grand slams, but why does this seem odd to me? Well, here's why. Because in 2023, Xander Bogaerts came to the plate 15 times with the bases loaded, and he went 1 for 14 with no walks, 4 strikeouts, 1 double play, and 1 sac fly. That 1 hit was a single. No doubles, triples, or homers. Then in 2024, Xander Bogaerts came to the plate with runners with the bases loaded, 9 plate appearances, and he went 1 for 8 with no doubles, no triples, no homers, 1 walk, and 2 ground ball double plays. And then this year, he had come up 12 times with the bases loaded, and he was 1 for 12 with no doubles, no triples, no homers, no walks, 5 strikeouts, but no double plays, 2 sac flies. Literally his first extra base hit as a Padre with the bases loaded. The guy we've batted in the middle of our lineup for 3 straight seasons. The first time Xander Bogaerts hit a loud baseball with the sax drunk as a San Diego Padre. It's remarkable. And that one hit just kind of illustrates how terrible, how uniquely worst in baseball he has been in these there's nobody you can find in baseball over 3 years that have done that bad, hitting in the middle of the order, one single 3 years in a row until today.
Yeah, I mean, and also on the positive side, Xander Bogaerts is a savvy veteran, which I know that gets tossed around a lot, but I really do believe that about him. And he knew coming to the plate with the bases loaded and nobody outs that Mackenzie Gore was going to throw a fastball. And he was like, cool, it lit up. It's like MLB The Show, guest pitch, fastball, lights up, here we go, fucker, and put it in the seats. And so, yes, he has been terrible. And also, I am glad to see that veteran know-how was still in there somewhere.
All I got to say is Bogaerts. You can keep your Mookie Betts.
Wow. That's a good one. That's a good one. We'll get the supporter section grinding on that.
Oh, yeah.
I kind of like that. It's like kind of H-O-T-T-O-G-O. It's like, is that to the tune of H-O-T-T-O-G-O?
Yeah, that's the first time Chappell Roan has made an appearance on Padres on Top.
Got it. Last note from Sunday, Nick Pivetta is now 9-2 starting after Padres losses. Picked up his 10th win of the season. I still think wins matter in the sense that the guys who are 10-2 and are going 6 and 7 innings all the time, that's why they're 10-2. It's because they're not going 4 2/3, a la Dylan Cease. They're not going 5 1/3 and getting pulled out and being unable to qualify for a win. Nick Pivetta has been everything the Padres have dreamed of and so much more.
Yeah, man. Thank God Roki Sasaki didn't sign with us. Because, man, I think about that where I'm getting like cryptic texts from like a Dodger fan friend who's like, Roki's touching 93 in his bullpen sessions right now. You better watch out, which is, of course, said jokingly to me. But, I mean, what the Padres have been bitten by the injury bugaboo in their starting rotation. And to think that, if they did not have Nick Pivetta and instead had Roki Sasaki and he went down with injury, they would have 3 guys in their top 5 who had been down for most of the season. I mean, that was an insane turn of events that the Padres greatly benefited from. Pivetta giving up, as he's wont to do, some long fly balls today. But, only one of them went over the fence and just barely. So that's going to be his game. It's going to be a little bit clenched watching him at certain times, but, he continues to use his 3 pitches to a great effect depending on the handedness of the hitters he faces. And, I mean, again, coming in after a loss, Nick Pivetta getting another win. I know he had a lot more run support, but he's the true stopper of the staff, as you guys have talked about.
Well, big thank you to all other Major League Baseball teams for being afraid of that qualifying offer the Red Sox put on him and letting us have him.
Absolutely. Of course, qualifying offers decrease your draft status. The San Diego Padres had a pick in the first round and then not until the draft got into the 90s. But with that one first round pick in the mid-20s, they picked the substitute teacher, Cruz Schoolcraft, guy who shows up with the guitar, brings out the TV, says, hey, guys, it's an easy day. It's Cruz Schoolcraft today. What? Bad joke?
No. I mean, you painted the picture, and I'm looking at it.
It's still not funny, but I mean, he's 6'8". He's a high school kid. He's left-handed. I'm sure he'll have Tommy John in a couple of years. Can we hope on Cruz Schoolcraft?
Sure, maybe. And he's a high schooler. The more interesting thing because I don't know anything about Cruz Schoolcraft, I'm not going to pretend to. The thing that I took away from the draft is interesting, as like he's the high school pick, but then AJ took 16 college players out of their 19 overall selections. That means he's looking for people to contribute quicker. He's not looking for the lottery tickets. That says a lot about the state of our system. Rafi, you agree?
Yeah, no, I'm really glad you tagged that. I was gonna make the same thing. This is something that the Dodgers have been doing for years, is drafting, especially college bats. Because folks need to think, if you're playing in like a really good baseball conference in the NCAA, I think of like the SEC, for instance, that's like high A level. Like that's not like that is better than you would find at Lake Elsinore. So if you have hitters who can perform at that level, like there's a good chance that they have at least a floor that some of these more toolsy guys that are coming out of high school, which yes have been successes like James Wood and Jackson Merrill for the Padres in recent years, a lot of those guys also don't hit. And so to draft guys that are a little bit older, they're 20, 21, 22, and they've played at a high level of experience, like you're hedging a little bit, and like you said, Chris, it points to AJ and the rest of the front office recognizing that they need guys who can come up in the next year or two to help this team out, especially as 2027, which is kind of our payroll doomsday year, looms in the foreground.
Let's look ahead now a little bit to both the trade deadline and to what's still to come on this road trip. By the time we get back together for the next full free show, this road trip will be in the rearview mirror, and it'll be 7 games in 7 days for the Padres. They've got 3 against a red-hot Marlins team, and then they go to St. Louis. And the Cardinals are kind of hanging on the fringe of what's going on. But something interesting has happened, which is great for the San Diego Padres. Simultaneously, the Dodgers are in their worst slide of the season, really worst slide in multiple seasons. And behind that, the Giants have come out of the All-Star break and they got swept by the red-hot Toronto Blue Jays. And while the Padres lost 2 out of 3 to Toronto, the Giants lost 3 out of 3 to Toronto. And that now reflects in the standings. San Diego is a full 2.5 games ahead of San Francisco in second place. And they picked up 2 games on the Dodgers, guys. They're 3.5 out in the NL West right now. I think that's entirely a reflection, of how poorly LA is playing, because the Padres are still only 9 games over 500. It'd be one thing if there were 16 or 17 games over 500. They're 9 games over 500. So we still know we've been playing a little under 500 ball for, 60 games or so. Nonetheless, it is a little bit tighter, and it's great to see the Giants, who I currently have pegged as your number one worry, coming out as flat-footed as they have.
Yeah. Rafi Devers has been very slow to launch, I guess would be a generous way to say it. It's very early days for the erstwhile Red Sox. And by the way, I think they talked about this on Effectively Wild. Do you guys say Red Sox or White Sox? Like,
no.
No,
I do the same thing I do with the Padres. I'll say somebody is a Padres, and I'll say they are a Red Sox.
Because you wouldn't write like SOCK. You know what I mean? Like, no. I've never seen that. No. I would maybe see like Red Sox player Rafael Devers or something like that. But it just anyway. Sorry, diatribe. It's early days for him, and so I'm not gonna to go out on a limb and then make any big sweeping accusations. But I mean, just looking ahead to the standings, the Brewers. Yes, the Dodgers get swept, but that only also comes at the strength of the Brewers, and it does present an interesting game theory sort of zero-sum situation, which is it actually beneficial for the Padres, for the Dodgers to get swept if it's at the hands of the Brewers? Do you have a strong feeling either way, guys?
I love seeing the Dodgers lose every time, and looking at the playoffs on July 20th is a fool's errand. You just got to look at how the club is playing, and the club is winning the series they need to, and they need to find another gear in the deadline. So, I always want to see the Dodgers lose. I revel in their misery.
I don't love the way the Brewers are going, but I feel like the Brewers are playing their best baseball of the year right now. So maybe they won't be playing their best baseball of the year in September. Seems to me like kind of every season the Brewers have this incredible summer where they are thought to be a middling team, and then they play out of their minds, and they wind up winning in the 90s, and then they lose in the first round. And it's like, oh, fun.
They have like a guy who would be our third or fourth pitcher in the minors right now, in Chad Patrick, and they tied the Cubs today for the league in the Central. So I'm not gonna discount the Brewers. They got some filth. Pat Murphy's got some animals.
Filthy animals. Okay, I'd like to wrap up, and this is something we talked about on the paid show for patrons, but I'm on one right now when it comes to which is that there's a lot of folks, that think this, think that, think that. I'm very narrow right now. I got my eye on 2 teams, 2 trades, and I just want to toss these out here and see what you guys think. Trade 1 is a trade with the Texas Rangers. We are going to acquire from the Texas Rangers catcher Kyle Higashioka, $3.5 million, and reliever Hobie Milner. Left-handed reliever Hobie Milner. We are going to give up Luis Camposano and a minor league reliever. Pick, who's the kid that we called up? Nunez, one of those guys. A flame-throwing minor league reliever. Do you think Texas makes that deal? They're out of it. Those are 2 fungible resources for them. They'd give up a little money, but they'd get potentially a starting catcher in future years and potentially a bullpen arm in future years. Why wouldn't they make that deal?
I think that Texas says no because Hobie Milner is a left-handed reliever, which is obviously going to be more in demand than a right-handed reliever, and he's throwing to a 2.31 ERA and a 2.33 FIP. So I think Hobie Milner is going to be very in demand. So I think, maybe if they lessen up some of that money that they're giving away, like if it's just a straight up trade instead of sending over cash, maybe they'll talk a little bit more. But I think if I'm Texas, I'm calling other teams and just saying, okay, they've got Campy and Nunez, and they want us to send money. We don't want to send money. What can you do better than that? I mean,
but who else wants Higashioka? You know what I'm saying? I feel like Kyle fits here in a way that other teams aren't going to be like, we need to get ourselves a Kyle Higashioka.
I think he's more valuable to the Padres than other teams, as I said on the show. And maybe they also don't want Luis Camposano. Bruce Bochy is a catcher. I don't know Bochy's contract status, if he's the long-term answer for Texas at manager. But maybe he's talked to Bob Melvin and knows what kind of catcher Luis Camposano is. I say, sure. I say do what it takes to get Kyle Higashioka. If you can't get Sean Murphy, I say improve the team as much as you can. And Kyle Higashioka is an instant upgrade over what they're playing with now.
Okay, which leads me to trade number 2. We're going to go to the Chicago White Sox. We're going to take Luis Robert Jr. off their hands. No money comes the other direction. We're going to adopt the remainder of his contract this year and the $5 million sell option for next year, because obviously no one's renewing him for $20 million. And because of that, we give up nothing. We give up a 35 grade prospect to go to the Chicago White Sox, because we're just literally taking him off their hands. We're taking the salary. He's playing to negative value, and he's going to leave. So give them go scout our franchise. Go scout our minors. Which guy do you want that's not on this list? You can have whichever one you want. And we get Luis Robert Jr.
I'll counter it with a similar thing. If you're not getting me Lars Nootbaar from the Cardinals, then yeah, I'll take Luis Robert Jr. Absolutely, he's fast. He sometimes gets on base, and the magic that White Sox players are finding in other organizations might just be a result of being in one of the worst franchises in all of sports and feeling like a loser all the friggin' time. And once you get a guy in a different place, different mindset, maybe he's got some relationships with Padres players that help lighten up his load a little bit. I think that that's exactly the type of deal the Padres are going to have to target because of their payroll commitments and the lack of prospect capital.
Look, I mean, I'm already like lighting up my cigarettes, like chain smoking, thinking about this Luis Robert deal because it's just like it's such an AJ move. And like, look, Acee's already putting out the well, payroll is a concern come the deadline and whatever, but like I personally don't buy it. Like just in terms of like we've said that before, we've heard it before, and I don't think that it's true because the Padres are over the second apron already. So unless they're going to trim payroll at the deadline, which I don't think that they're going to do because they'd have to trim considerable payroll to get back under the apron given how much they've already paid in at this point in the season, they might as well spend the money. And I worry about Luis Robert, yes, but as I'm looking around the league and I look at other options, like Kyle Stowers has played himself out of being affordable.
No
he's
chance.
Now going to command a massive, if the Marlins, because he only has a year of service time. So if the Marlins are trading him, they're like punting on like the next 4 years, which they might be regardless. But it's a really hard sell to make the fan base to trade your literal best player when you're playing good baseball. So I don't know, man. I might come back. It might come back to bite me, but I'm kind of into Luis Robert. I'm kind of into it as just like a fuck it reclamation. Like Gavin Sheets worked. Run it back with him. Let's see if it goes.
The circumstances are good, man. Like, and I've wanted him for a long time. So, like, make it happen. I'm definitely going to have way more crazy trade theories by next week's episode if AJ is sleeping till then. Just know that, boys. Come prepared. Pack a lunch.
All right. Let me just give you just a tick more on this. Based on the season basically being 60% over, you would owe Luis Robert $6 million for the rest of this season. So then there's $5 million next season. So I do think that there's a world of this where you massage it, and instead of, hey, we take all the money and we give you nothing, it's, hey, we take Robert and half the money and we give you something slightly better, a double-A starter, whatever. I would hope it wouldn't be Braden Net, but we give you something.
No, I don't think it can be.
Way. I don't think it would be. I don't think it would be Braden Net. Here's the other thing. Last month, covering 12 games, 42 plate appearances, Luis Robert is hitting 286, 405, 571, 976 OPS. Over the last 2 weeks, 360, 467, 640, 1107 OPS. Over the last 3 games, 500, 650, 915, 15
Stop
OPS.
The Brewers are listening, Craig.
He's hot. He's heating up at the exact right time. He's heating up at the exact right time. I want Luis Robert, Kyle Higashioka, and one reliever off the Rangers. If I can't have Hobie Milner, give me Robert Garcia. If I can't have Robert Garcia, give me Chris Martin, the lead singer of Coldplay. I want one of these guys. He'll be
break up marriages, Craig.
Yeah, exactly. He'll be pitching double plays and breaking up CEO tricky marriages. It's going to be amazing. So I don't need Jaron Duran. I don't need to trade Ethan Salas. I don't need to trade Leo DeVries. Give me Higgy. Give me Robert. Give me a reliever. Give me Michael King back. Let's ride. I think that team might be good enough.
I know Rafi has to run, so I'm not going to put my theories at you. But just saying, next week I'm gonna have a spreadsheet.
We're gonna have a
All
big show next week. We also have a guest next week.
Can't
which
wait.
Should be worth saying.
Can't wait for the guest.
Yeah.
Dylan
He's gonna
from
roll
Letters
his
to AJ.
eyes so many times. You better
Yeah.
strap in those eyes, Dylan.
Hey, who knows? Maybe a trade will be made in between here and there, and we'll have an emergency podcast. Who knows? There's not a rule that you have to wait till the 31st. You could go get Robert and Higashioka
I've been
tonight.
saying that for 2 months, Craig.
I know you have. It's true. You have. All right. Anything else? Let's wrap it up.
Go Padres.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. Rate and review. Go Padres. Let's go ahead and let's play some fish, even though Marlin's not that good. You have to smoke it for it to be good.
And
So smoke
if you're
them
still
Marlins.
listening to this and you are not a patron, we do, if you didn't hear at the beginning of the show, we have a deal for you, deadline deal. You go to patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub. At checkout, you punch in the code DEAL10. You will get 10% off your Patreon membership. That could be 10% off the first month, or it could be 10% off the first year if you're willing to contribute, really get bang for your buck. So that's really 20% because there's already an annual discount baked in. Patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub. Thanks for supporting the show, everyone.
For Chris and Rafi, I'm Craig. Go Padres.